What's going on, guys? I'm Mark from 5.0 Buffalo, and today we'll be taking a look at Android Lollipop on the Nexus 9 and overall see what's new with Google's latest Android operating system. So with Android Lollipop, you get a ton of new features, but probably one of the most popular feature and the most interesting one in Android 5.0 is their new design language, Material Design. Basically, everything you touch brings something onto the screen or moves it off, so you know exactly where they're coming from. A lot of the Google apps have been redesigned to fit Android Lollipop's Material Design language, so that means apps like Google Music, Gmail, and the Photos app will have that Material Design look. Everything you touch animates and overall just looks really cool. Now, probably one of my favorite features from some Android devices like the G3 or the OnePlus One was the ability to double tap to wake the device. And with Android Lollipop, you now have the ability to double tap to wake the screen, which is always an awesome feature to have. And now that I've gotten used to this feature, I barely use the lock and unlock button on my OnePlus One, and I could probably say the same for the Nexus 9. The lock screen for Android Lollipop has changed quite a bit too. It looks a lot like Google Now's card-based system, and all of your notifications are displayed directly on the lock screen. You can archive an email, tap reply, expand notifications to see more information, and so on. Now, if you don't want any of your sensitive information on your lock screen, you can set them to be redacted when they show up on the lock screen. Now, probably one of the best notification enhancement in Android Lollipop is something Google calls priority mode. It's a bit like Do Not Disturb on iOS, but it seems much better here. You can choose which apps can still disturb you when priority mode is enabled. Even better, when you set it, Android gives you an option to set a duration before it goes back into normal notifications. That way you won't forget to switch it off. So with Android Lollipop, when you swipe down from the top, you get all your notifications in one place, and you also now have access to your quick settings by swiping down one more time. The quick settings looks much cleaner and simplistic than before. You have a few more handy new features here, like a shortcut for your flashlight, which wasn't in KitKat, and a new brightness slider, which I think is more useful than what we had before in KitKat. Now, Android has allowed multiple user accounts on tablets for a while now, but in Lollipop there's a new option called guest mode that works on both phones and tablets. The idea is that it creates a clean, safe, and disposable workspace that anybody can use. Your guests can even quickly log into their account to check emails, and when they're done using it, you or your guest can get rid of the data inside the guest account at any time, leaving no trace of information from that guest's session. Now, let's say guest mode is too much work for you and your kid or friend just wants to use an app on your tablet or phone. You can now pin apps, which essentially locks the app down, and that way your friend or kid won't go snooping around your email or personal data. It's somewhat similar to guided access feature in iOS, but much better in my opinion. The multitasking view now has a new name, it's called Overview, and a new Material Design look. Each app is a big card stacked up, and you can scroll through many more recent apps that you used to be able to. But the best feature is that any app can create multiple cards. So for example, when you compose a new mail or do a Google search, you can switch back and forth between tasks in a single app. When it comes to the home screen, your first impression of the home screen likely won't be too different from what it is now. You'll still have the same screen of apps and the same status bars as before, but the Google search bar uses Material Design, and the soft navigation keys at the bottom look different too. You get a bunch of new wallpapers which all look beautiful, and swiping right still takes you to Google Now, which looks almost the same except the customization options, reminders, and settings no longer live in the bottom of the screen, but now is an overlay menu accessible by another swipe to the right. Now, moving on to the other cooler features, it wasn't a problem on the Nexus 5, but non-Nexus devices running KitKat except for the Moto X couldn't use OK Google voice activation, which lets you dictate commands hands-free. Lollipop is taking this feature one step further by letting you do this when the screen is turned off and the phone's locked. Technically, Google says that any phone with a capable digital signal processor should be able to take advantage of this new functionality. Unfortunately, unlike the new Moto X, you won't be able to use your own hot words to activate the device. Android Lollipop also features Project Volta and a new battery saver feature, which essentially cuts off a lot of activities, data, and performance when the device gets down to 15%. And so to sum it all up for you guys, it's hard not to be impressed by Google's effort in building Android Lollipop. It not only introduces a completely new design, but a bunch of new software features that really improve the Android experience overall. It's one of the biggest upgrades Android has seen yet, and it's definitely worth making the jump when your device eventually gets it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you guys would like to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And we'd like to play video games every now and then in this office, so make sure to check us out at twitch.tv/technobuffalo, and we hope to see you guys there.